Welcome once again, everyone. I am back with another Super Rugby preview for 2018, and I've got my Highlanders hat on today because we're going to have a look at everyone's second favourite New Zealand team. So where are they at? They had a decent season last year in a pretty strong New Zealand conference. So they finished, behind the other New Zealand teams apart from the Blues, but still a pretty strong season. I don't think they lost any games to any non-New Zealand teams, and they were dumped out by the eventual winners, the Crusaders. They have had a change at the top. So Tony Brown, who was coach last season and was Jamie Joseph's assistant before that, he's gone to join Jamie over in Japan, and Aaron Major is the new coach of the Highlanders. So a somewhat, I don't know if I say controversial or perhaps not that popular decision for Highlanders fans, given that he is a former Crusader. I think they would have preferred to see someone who closer to home take the job, but there we go. He has had a bit of experience in the top job, but not a heck of a lot. He coached Leicester Tigers over in the Aviva Premiership. Had a kind of middling record as an interim coach and kind of got the boot a bit early, which he was apparently not very happy about. But the guy who's taken over from him has had a less than stellar record himself. So that may have been more of a team thing than an Aaron Major thing. Well, we'll see how he goes. In terms of squad movement since he's taken over, the biggest name to be leaving, I would have to say, is Malakai Fekitoa. He is gone over to France. I guess his All Black career wasn't quite panning out the way it should have, I guess. I mean, he was another one of those guys that was projected to be here and just didn't quite make it. I mean, he was still a very good player, played for the All Blacks, great for the Highlanders, but just never quite met the potential that he first showed. Marty Banks will be a particularly heartbreaking one for Highlanders fans. I know he was a big fan favourite down there. He's gone back over to Italy. Halanukanuka, the prop, he's gone. Craig Miller's gone to the Sunwolves. He was only a bit part player anyway. Joe Wheeler, he's gone to Japan. Their social media team will miss Joe. He was pretty funny. Gareth Evans has gone to the Hurricanes. He's probably one of the bigger losses. Not as flashy as a name like Fekitoa, but definitely a good player. And Patrick Osborne has gone to Japan. And also Hayden Park has gone to the Sunwolves. I don't think he played last season, but he played a bit under Jamie Joseph, so he's gone to rejoin him. We'll see how he goes. So who's left? Who have we got? In the front row, Coltman, Ash Dixon, Pleasance Tate, Leonard Brown, Seuli, Tokalahi, Miller, Lomax, and Tuiloma, with Lomax and Tuiloma being two new names to the squad. If you look at their hookers, I think most people would say it's pretty solid. You got three guys there who are all really good. None of them are absolutely amazing, but they're all very solid. So I don't have any. I mean, the Highlanders are always prone to injury, but seems to be anyway. Every season they seem to have a lot of injuries. Hooker doesn't seem to be a problem if someone goes down for a while. Lomax is in, I'm assuming, to replace Halanukanuka. And Tuiloma, if they can get this guy fit and like match ready, he is a very large human. If he's going to run at someone after 75 minutes and he's only been on the field for 20, I think that could be entertaining. He is a large man. If they can, like I said, if they can get him ready for Super Rugby, then kind of Ben Tamiafuna-esque, could be entertaining. Who else is left? So we've got Ainley, Franklin, Himopo, Dixon, Parkinson, Elliot Dixon, Squire, Whitelock, Hunt, Lynchies, Pryor, and Frizzell. Ainley and Franklin were kind of the two main guys at lock, I think, last year, even though Ainley is ancient. I mean, I think he's 35 or 36, so even older than me, which is unusual. Himopo, I think, played a bit towards the end of the season. I think he's a bit more flexible, that he can play loose or lock. Parkinson He's one of the new guys. He's more than 2 meters, so he could get a few minutes if Ainley needs a rest. Well, it depends how they rotate these other guys around. I think Josh Dixon only played about one or two games last season. Didn't play a heck of a lot. So Franklin will be the main guy, line-out jumper. He's a solid player. So yeah, it could be an area where they're a bit thin. An area where they're less thin is their loose forward. So Elliot Dixon, that guy's got really, really good hands. He's always looking to set something up when he's got the ball. So he's a man to watch. Liam Squire, I feel like if he played for any other franchise in New Zealand other than the Highlanders, he'd probably get talked up even more than he does. There's general consensus that he's really good. But I think if he was playing for the Crusaders, people would be saying he is flipping amazing, because he is a very, very good player. He's good around the park. He's good in the line-out. He's strong. He's got a bit of gas for a guy in his position. So, yeah, just an ugly hairdo. Whitelock and Hunt, those are guys who are tackling machines. The way we've seen the Highlanders play, I think you need those guys who are just going to tackle all day long, and those guys won't let you down. I mean, Whitelock had to leave the Crusaders to get regular game time, and I don't think he will be disappointed in making the decision. That seems to be a pretty common theme with a lot of Highlanders players. These are the guys that, for whatever reason, couldn't get the time or the treatment or whatever it was that they deserved in their original team, and then they moved to the Highlanders and tend to flourish. Different culture down there, not sure what it is, but they've got the best. I mean, that Highlanders team that won the comp a few years ago, some people went to say they were like kind of the no-name guys who ended up winning it. Not all that fair, but yeah, that definitely seems to be a theme. They don't attract the big star players, but they still get the results. So it's a credit to the way they do things. Lentjes is out for the start of the season with an injury. Pryor, if the current coach is anything like the last coach, won't get a lot of games, which is disappointing for the fans, because I know they like Dan Pryor. And Frizzell is a new guy. Given the depth they've got in the loose, I would think he would probably play pretty sheltered minutes, if any. In the backs, Aaron Smith will probably be one of the co-captains. I don't think that's officially been announced, but I don't think they would have any reason to change it. Hamilton will get games off the bench because Aaron will play most of them. And Renton, yeah, I think is he new to the team? No, but he played 6 games last year. Okay, so again, he'll be rotated in and out, but it's mostly about Smith at the halfback. Next gets a little more interesting. So Marty Banks is gone, Hayden Parker's gone, Sopoaga is there, but he is leaving after this season. He's taking the money at Wasps. So again, I think I'm always worried about the situation where the coach knows your player is leaving in the following year. So you're thinking, is he committed? Or do I want to blood my young guys now? Because there's no point giving this guy who's leaving more time if he's just going to leave. But I think new coach is probably going to have to win now. So it would be too much scrutiny on him to play anyone but Sopoaga. So Sopoaga will start. It's just depending on Smith and Ioane who gets the games against possibly lesser opposition or the games from the bench. So I know Smith and Ioane kind of battled it out for the 10 shirt in the Mitre 10 Cup with Otago, and Ioane, I think, won most of the time. Fletcher Smith was often pushed out to fullback, so it'll be interesting to see how Aaron Major sees things with them. Rest of the back, so Ben Smith, Naholo, Lee, Buckman, Faddis, Thompson, Tomkinson, Walden, McKay, Umanga Jensen, and Nabura. So Ben Smith will be the other co-captain. He's back from his sabbatical. He will be Ben Smith. He's Mr. Consistent. He will play very well, I'm sure. Naholo had a great season last year. He was one of the top try scorers of the comp. He was making the right moves, seemed to stay fairly injury-free from memory, and just generally had a really good year. Tavita Lee moved from the Blues to the Highlanders a couple of years ago. Hasn't quite found his straps in that he's not like nailed down that shirt as his own. He still gets rotated in and out. But with what's his face gone, Patrick Osborne, with him gone, there should be more chances for him to kind of nail down one of those wing spots as his own. Buckman and Faddis, those guys just play everywhere and they play really well. Again, this is what I'm talking about with the whole the Highlanders don't get the stars thing. Like, these guys are really good players, but they kind of get talked about more for their cult following than for just the amazing stuff they do on the pitch. Thompson had a really good year last year. He was really impressive. He showed good hands, ran good lines. He was pretty impressive. McKay and Umanga Jensen are the two additions to the squad. We'll see if they get any time, kind of utility players. Tompkinson was a kind of a bit part player last year, as was Walden. So I think there's enough up top here to fill out things and look pretty strong most of the time. I don't know much about Nabura, but he is another new addition to the squad. Right, so for these Highlanders, the new coach obviously has to have a big season. I think if they don't qualify for at least a wildcard spot in the playoffs, then he will find himself under a bit of pressure, although people for the first year will usually give him a pass. If he does tragically poor and finishes below the Blues, then the knives might come out a bit early. But I think playoffs would be a solid pass. If he wins the New Zealand Conference, A grade, and if he finished below the Blues, that's a big old fail. It will be interesting to see how he prepares the team tactically, because they were very much set up last season and under Jamie Joseph to be, that's quite a nice burnout somebody just did, a kicking team. They kicked more than anybody else in the competition. Most kicks, most kick meters, very few kind of pick and go options. Very seldom would they kind of go 7+ phases. It was always chip kicks through, cross kicks over, very kind of like a counterpunch style team. So, I mean, and the team's set up that way. They don't have kind of like a big enforcer style, bulky, hard to move around the park, like set of players. So it'll be interesting to see if Aaron Major decides to kind of go what the team's been set up for, or decides to try and stamp his own mantra on the team. The set piece, it wasn't rocking anyone's world last year. It was fine. The lineups were okay. The scrums in some games would seem a bit soft, and other games would seem a bit more up to it. So, we'll see how that goes. Like I said, the depth at lock and whatever happens with the 10 jersey will be interesting to see how that goes forward. If Sopawanga gets injured, or if like Franklin gets injured, I think that could affect their season more than some of the other areas. In terms of their strength of schedule, so looking at the strength of the teams who, based on their results last year, theirs is the second hardest behind the Blues. So I think that mostly stems from being in the New Zealand Conference. You have to play all the New Zealand teams twice, and all the New Zealand teams had a pretty good for and against last season. They don't play the Jaguares, and they don't play the Sunwolves. So you could argue that that's unfortunate in that, in theory, the Sunwolves are a nice, easy win. Don't remind me on the Blues, please. I'm going to have to put that caveat on every time I say that. But I think, importantly, you neither have to travel to Japan or Singapore, and you don't have to travel to South America. So that is a big bonus. But that's kind of offset by their less than ideal schedule. So they've got to bye the first week, same as everyone who's not in the South African Conference. Then they play the Blues, and then they immediately go back onto the bye, which I suppose one team has to have it, but that's that's unfortunate to have. It's like having a hit out and then having a rest. It's kind of like a preseason game. Then they got the Stormers at home, Crusaders at home, Hurricanes away, Chiefs away. So it's a fairly... they made the Stormers look really poor last season. That was one of the Stormers' worst results. But still, the Stormers I don't think will be any pushover than the Crusaders, Hurricanes and Chiefs. So it's a pretty tough start after that double bye. And then another bye, and this is kind of where they pay for having the bye early on, is they have 8 games on the trot before the test series. So if you start picking up injuries on that 8-game stretch, it could make things a lot more difficult. So I don't know. I feel like most coaches would like to have the byes kind of nicely evenly spread so you get a cluster of games and then you get a break, but obviously that can't work out for everybody. Right, so we'll see how they go. I still think they'll finish above the Blues pretty comfortably, but yeah, we will see how they go. So we'll have a look at another team next time, but for me, that's it, and I'll catch you guys next time.